Hello, everybody, and welcome to another mini tour. In this case, as the footage came out a bit shorter than expected, of street art in Santander. This is, of course, Dr. Lilian Céspedes González with you here today, and I'm coming to show you some murals that I would love to show you live, but the reality is that to get to all of this in the same sort of setting is a little bit difficult because they are quite far apart. But we are starting here in General Davila, which is at the top end of Santander, and that links in with the Hunting for Street Art live stream that we did a few weeks ago. And the first one that you see in here is this beautiful lighthouse, which is actually from the artist Santos de Veracruz. Now, Santos de Veracruz is an artist originally from Barcelona, but that has been working and has his studio in Santander now for quite some time. He was born in 1975, and although he started doing things like comic strips and comic books, he's actually started doing a lot of different sort of work, including this mural called Mi Norte Tu, My North You, in Santander itself. And he has been working in the area overall since the early 2000s. The mural itself is from 2018, although it's been a little bit deteriorated because, as you see here more clearly, the wind in this area of town actually blows quite severely. Well, as a result, this is the reason why, as you can see, it's difficult to get all of this on a long live stream. General Davila is one of the longest avenues in the city, and well, for the 13 something minutes that this whole thing comes together as one, it actually took me the best part of an hour to record everything. So just so you can understand, the complication in here. A lot of the time, these murals are not necessarily also on the main street itself. They're kind of on side streets, like in here, next to one of the civil uncertainties. So you kind of have to go hunting for them. But it's very good because the city of Santander, thanks to the Okuda phenomenon and many of these other new names that we have now in the city, has been creating many guides that if you actually want to go and explore on your own, you can do so with the internet with a PDF. They are not the most complete guides, I must say, and sometimes some older or more recent murals tend to be I guess, ignored just because these things don't necessarily always get very updated. There used to be an art festival in Santander called Desvelarte, which was essentially a way of promoting this development of new murals in the city. But all of that kind of started getting a little bit I guess, delayed with COVID. So some of the murals that you're seeing are not just sort of public murals that have been done by the government or by the local authorities, but part of this festival, and also, of course, the intervention by, independent artists like what we've seen here with Santos de Veracruz. And, well, we are now approaching another mural, which you actually have a short of it in the YouTube channel already, in case you want to see that just on its own, which is a very interesting mural, I find, because of what it is supposed to represent. As you see, we are engaging with this piece, which has this sort of lioness or whatever kind of feeling we want to call it. This is by the artist Lau Kai or Ki, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Is a bit of a weird one. This was put here in 2021, if I remember correctly. And it's all about different caretakers. This is actually in a building that is related with some of our social services in the city, and it's kind of like a hail to the professional services for social care, which is very important. So the idea is to, promote that idea of the caretaker as important for society, for communities, and how caretaking can come in many forms, which I think is a very beautiful idea, actually, and something that is very important for the city of Santander. Now, we have this urban saying, I guess, not necessarily very kind, mind you, that Santander is a great city if you are a young child or an elderly person, because the overall social infrastructure of the town is very much well developed, for kids or for retired people. And as a result, in reality, what that translates as is that social services are of high importance, whether it's schools and activity centers, etc., for kids to be able to engage and have a good childhood. Likewise, with a lot of civil certains or civic centers for people to be able to do activities besides, their day-to-day. And this is perhaps one of the most famous murals that we have now in the city and in General Davila. This is one of the many Okudas, but this is not just Okuda and his all. This is a collaboration with Serzo, José Luis Serzo. This is called La Gran Balsa, or the big boat, sort of thing, and it's also in General Davila. It's about 15 meters, if I remember correctly, and it's supposed to represent the idea of hope. Other interpretation is that all the characters that you see in here, which are sort of like based on myths and the imagination, the other reading is that instead it represents one of the oldest festivals in the area of Cantabria, which is La Vijanera, which is our like winter carnival. But whichever way you want to see it, it's a beautiful blending of the style of Okuda with all of those, colors and the more realism of Serzo. And this is a very little one done by Ana Marieta, in Santander known as the Pelicans. She's an artist that actually creates a lot of these sort of biological studies with like excessive imagination, also in the same street in General Davila. Well, we've just crossed over to another part of the city. Following a little bit further from General Davila, this is the area where we have a lot of schools. In fact, the one with the pelicans at the back was in a school in Pereda, and this is in Quinta Porrúa. Now, Quinta Porrúa has two different murals. This one is the most recent one. I believe this one is the one from 2022, if I remember correctly. Yes, it must be, because there you go, Quinta Porrúa 2022. But all of this area was actually developed by the school in collaboration with another artist of art called Yank. And it's a sort of, I guess, call against school bullying. And the one that you're seeing in front of us is called Quietud number 2, so it's the second one. And it is, or Quietud number 1, sorry, this is the first one. And it is done by Laura Escallada, who signs under the name Lea, in 2020, if I remember correctly, in Galicia Street, which is supposed to create some reflections about the city, and the wolf is supposed to be looking towards the sea, although from the recording you wouldn't be able to see it, to be honest. We are really far away. And here you have now the second half of the Quinta Porrúa school, which actually writes out the name of the school itself, and this was actually done by the students themselves, as you can see, por los niños y las niñas del CIP Quinta Porrúa. So what I hope is coming across very clearly is that in the city of Santander, it doesn't matter whether you're a great artist, whether you are, young creatives or whatever. The idea of street art has become incredibly powerful and precious to all of us. And it's being used as a way of, I guess, bringing life into the city and to create not just an expressive community, but I guess a way of beautifying our town. Because of the fire of the early 20th century, of the 1940s, half of our historical landscape is going to be completely broken. And well, you can see what this is like. All of the neighborhoods we're walking by the way, are working class neighborhoods right in the middle of the city. So as you can see, they are not terribly glamorous. The majority of the buildings that we have in places like this, this is just the little street art piece in Valparaíso, which is quite common actually for a lot of local commerces to have these little things just to kind of make them a bit more appealing and bring business. But yeah, as you see, our buildings are not terribly remarkable in any way, shape or form. So street art has really become our way of trying to make city life a bit more interesting. And this one that's coming just ahead of us, it's another one by José Luis Serzo, the one that did that collaboration with Okuda. This is part of La Historia Más Bella Jamás Contada from 2020. And this is in Vázquez de Milla, if I remember correctly. And Serzo is a very interesting artist. He's multidisciplinary, focusing on anything that has a strong narrative. Well, the mural that you see here is actually based on a photograph or a caption of a longer narrative piece that he creates, because as a multidisciplinary artist, he does things on like sculpture, painting, installations, etc. And this is supposed to be telling the story of one of his alter egos in this fantastical world that he creates, which is a captain of not exactly a ship, but the story overall is focused around him. Well, again, we see a tiny one here. We've now walked all the way down the street and sort of head back towards the area of Numancia and Cisneros, which is this garage. This has been here for a really long time. It gets touched up every so often. But again, as you can see, a lot of these little businesses use normally smaller names because Cool is not particularly, let's say, world-renowned like some of the ones that I've mentioned, or even nationally renowned. We do have a lot of artists that are sort of more locally known. And this is a shame, to be honest. This is one of the earliest murals we actually had in the city, and this is from 2014, if I remember correctly, almost gone now. It was in one of the first editions of this thing called Desvelarte, and this one again, a new one from the bar. But the one just across just now is what we call Huellas de Euro, kind of like, I guess, the Trails of Euro, an Argentinian artist who was working in Spain for the longest time, and that mostly work creating images of women, but that's mostly gone now. And here you have, again, in another school, these are the entrances to the schools Antonio Mendoza and Cisneros, and this particular one is done with tile work, inspired by Portuguese tile work, but it's a modern rendition, supposedly, of the Odyssey. You can read into it as much as you want or as little as you want, if you see what I mean, but that's what it's supposed to represent. And here we have quite a known one by Marina Owens. This is quite a recent piece of street art from 2022. It's just representing bird life that is supposed to be, I guess, important for the city, because we are so close to the sea and the mountains in Santander. We do have quite a lot of birds. But besides that, we don't have an awful amount of knowledge about this piece. The school, however, gets very, very involved in street art, as you're going to see in a moment, because they create so many different spaces. And that is something that, has come through in different years. In fact, there were previous street art pieces here when I was younger that had to be replaced, just like this one. So we are now on the other side of the school. This is called Espacio Libertad, the freedom space, which is actually a collaboration of different artists trying to highlight the freedom of creativity amongst other things throughout, which I think is, quite a beautiful message to send. This is done by Paula Ballar, Adrián Santiago Pellac, and Santos Veracruz once again from 2022. And as you can see, the schools are involved, the city is involved. It's genuinely a mission that takes the whole community, particularly neighborhoods like this, which, like I said, are a little bit deprived of life and anything else. And we're arriving now towards the end of the tour. It almost started raining, but I hope you've enjoyed it and given you a different perspective of Santander. Thanks so much.